What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Winner's Circle. This is week number 4. I'm Derrick Lavasser.
And I'm Cody Calfieri.
We're back with you guys. Listen, we just got done watching another eviction. We're going to get right into it because we really want to dive into the hit list this week. We got some things we want to talk about for sure. The game is starting to develop. Relationships are starting to form. Alliances are really starting to strengthen. So we got a lot to get into, but we always like to give you a recap. So we're going to start with that now. And we're just going to dive right into it. Cody, you want to hit us off? We know we had Xavier, right?
Yeah, we have Xavier winning the HOH last week. It was something that I was really nervous. I was nervous about how winning an HOH, as we both know, can really be detrimental to your game. But Xavier, I think, did a pretty good job. Not diving too deep into it. We'll get into that when we get into the list, but we have Xavier as the HOH.
He killed it. He had a great week, man. We were concerned about him a little bit because he was both of our picks to win this season, but he didn't let us down. No, and like you said, we'll get into the specifics of it, but he did us proud.
Yeah, I thought so. You'll find out how well we thought he did as we get later on. So then
absolutely.
Next, we have the wild card competition.
That's right. The wild card, so Tiffany won.
Yeah.
And if you remember last week when I talked to you, I was like, listen, I want to see Tiffany win a competition. I want to see that she has the ability to do it. She did do that, so she stepped up. She did her thing. The only thing I got to say is, did she really win?
I was going to say, dude, as we say, it's nice to see these house guests come up and win a competition. She showed me in that competition that even with zero pressure, she was unable to do this basic math to add it up, to take the right card and put it in when Brittany was already out and Derrick X was throwing her the comp. And so he was literally throwing it to her. So she came into this comp and twice, they literally had it on the show. She came up, she had the card. There was a card there that she could have removed to fill it. She put the wrong one in and went back. And so I saw her do that twice. And that, to me, although, she won a comp, I was like, now when you're on the block or you like, I need to win this.
You have to win, yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know. So it didn't really, she won the comp. She won the wild card comp. They ganged up on Brittany, and then Derrick X threw it to her. So in my opinion, that almost has an asterisk next to it. It doesn't really show me anything about her ability to win comps.
What about Derrick X, though, man? Kid's a beast in competitions, right? He's scary. He's scary. He reminds me a lot of you with the math. He's athletic. He's scary good at competitions. Slowly
starting to. You guys will see when we get into the hit list. He's creeping up, and he's showing something every single week that makes me more confident in talking about him going far and deep into this game. And then, as you and I both know, once you're towards the end of the game, you have to have that ability to at least win comps or be working with somebody that is winning them also, or else you're in trouble. And Derrick X is showing us a lot of positive, and he's showing a lot of awareness as to.
Oh yeah,
I don't need to. I might be hurting myself if I keep winning. You know what I mean? So
yeah, he's got a good read on the game.
Yeah,
and for those of you who don't know, and I'm assuming everybody does, but the reason why they decided to team up together in that wild card is because they didn't want Brittany to win because they knew going into it that Xavier was seriously contemplating making Brittany one of the nominees, a pawn, but a nominee nonetheless. And if she won, that could have really ruined their plans. And again, we'll get into it more, but the fact that Xavier even had that mindset to know Brittany that was smart, because we thought maybe he would go Whitney, and you and I said it. If you're smart, throw up Brittany.
Yeah, you throw up Brittany to keep the blood off of, not necessarily off his hands, but there's not two people in the house that have put up Brittany. I think that was a great point that you made. And it's just those are the little things when your head is really in the game and your head is like churning, you pick up on stuff like that, where I'm sure Xavier didn't get the chance to really fully explain, but I'm sure that ran through his head. I don't doubt it for a second.
Yeah, no, he did his proud. And then we can go right into it because we know Tiffany wins the wild card. She decides not to use it. And then so Xavier gets, run of the house, except for anybody on his own team. He gets to put up anybody he wants. He does do exactly what we thought was best for him, which is puts up Brittany, who is now going to end up she's going to be the pawn for the house. As long as she's there, people are going to continuously use her. I'm sorry, Brittany, but you can see the writing on the wall. We see it year after year. It's going to get easier and easier to put her up.
And when it starts
even though she puts up a stink.
Yeah. It's going to get easier because at the end of the day, she is going to become the person that Okay, listen, I'm gonna have to put you up, but listen, you're a pawn. You know you're safe. You've been through this week after week. You're gonna be fine. She's gonna throw her stink for the first couple days and get all pissy about it. But at the end of the day, she's another one, and she showed it in this competition because before they had the ability to throw it and go after her, she had an ability to take out Derrick X, panicked under the pressure, removed the wrong card, and completely sent the number in a completely different direction, which, for those of you that don't know, the wild card competition was add up 4 cards to equal 13, and she had it and, like, blew it out by 3 numbers. And so that was just because the pressure got to her. And so for me, I said this the other day, if you are a Britney fan, you better get used to her being on the block, and you don't be bitter about it because she is falling into that role very quickly.
Yeah, she's going to be anything can happen in this game. Right. She could end up going very far because she's going to be a pawn for everyone. But unless something changes, Britney's not on a trajectory to win this game. And that's, for anyone who's a Britney fan, it's not looking good. But enough about Britney. It's fitting because Brent was in this Slaughterhouse Alliance, or at least he thought it was, and it's very fitting because CBS slaughtered him in the edits this week.
Goodness.
I mean, there's a lot of footage.
Dude, they held nothing back.
Somebody don't like Brent in the editing room.
Yeah. He must have said something to a producer that might have made a producer be like this. Oh, really, Brent? That's how you want to go about it? We'll do. We got you.
Yeah, he did not help himself in the house. He was rubbing people the wrong way, the way he was talking to women, his cockiness, and then I guess he was kind of carrying that over to the DR. Talking about how, and every clip where he said he was in the driver's seat, they aired it. And it's so funny because I remember when I was playing, they would be, even when I thought I was doing really well, I very rarely gave them anything cocky. And they're like, come on, you're doing great right now. Give us a little more. And I'm like, am I though? Yeah. Or are you just telling me to do that so you can crush me? So I'd always be like, I'm in a good position, but anything can happen. But Brent, obviously, he took the bait and they were probably like, hey, man, you're right. You're doing good. Hey, how about a line about you got all the numbers, like you being an accountant? He's like, that sounds great. Let me do that.
That was a producer-fed line. Don't you seem like an accountant? Yeah,
an accountant.
Yeah, I'm an accountant. Yeah, sure. I'm a flight attendant. I'm an accountant the way I'm crunching these numbers. See you later, Brent.
Yeah.
I mean, he just. He was, and I love it because here's the thing. It made for good TV. I was watching it.
They sauced him up for sure, dude. They set him up.
I was watching it and I was like, ooh, here's another one. Ooh, here's another one. But I got to tell you, Hannah said it best in her goodbye message. Hey, in the game of Big Brother, when you think you're comfortable and you have confidence, that's usually when it's creeping right up to send you out the door. It's a fact. That's a fact. And so he got the ringer. He's going to see it when he watches it back. But he really got the ringer of the dodo.
They definitely went hard on him. And so if it hasn't been clear what we're saying here, Xavier puts up his nominees. He decides to nominate Brittany and Brent as his nominations, and he kind of gives a speech. I didn't love the speech, but he gives a speech to basically kind of suggest that maybe Brittany's the target. But as much as as much as we're ragging on Brent, he's not an idiot.
No.
He likes Big Brother. He knew. Yeah. And he told, to his defense, he told Xavier, like, his way about doing it was horrible. Where he's like, listen, I'm intelligent. Yeah. I'm smart. Don't let these muscles fool you. Yeah. I'm smart. And
like,
so that was the wrong
approach.
Like,
I'm not a pawn. Not the looks, not the emotional stat. I was like, emotional stat. Anyways, but not to say anything bad about Brent. But I do. But
he knew.
And so what do you think about how Xavier, I feel like this could be the only real knock on his HOH this week. How did you think, like, that speech, saying that Brittany's a target, then trying to talk to Brent, not having Brent bite on it and just still riding with it? Do you think that was like...
I think it was the best you could do in that situation because Brittany is very emotional, and no matter what you do, it's going to get out. And he knew he could do what he could. This isn't to be mean, but he wasn't really concerned about how Brittany felt. Yeah. He was just trying to put Brent, who was a concern to him, he was threatened by Brent, where he was like, this guy could beat me. This guy could beat me in competitions. I want him to be comfortable this week, and I don't want him to think he's in trouble because he might go out and play harder. So it was really meant for Brent, and I hate to say this, but he just was like, Brittany, don't buy it. Who cares? She can come after me. I can beat her. But he was concerned about Brent, and although the speech wasn't great, we're going to get into the eviction of what happened, and I think the eviction, as I said last week, whenever the votes come out, you can tell how good your HOH was.
Oh yeah.
And ultimately, without giving the number away right now, Xavier had a very good week, and the house was completely on board with his moves this week. So, how about the veto? Veto was a cool veto.
Oh man, dude,
like
that
that.
was one that's been around for a very long time. I was really hoping, but I never got to play in that. Never got to play in that competition. It looks fun. I will tell you this. I mean, as somebody that, I've never competed, so I can't really give you an honest or straight up opinion, but it is definitely not an easy competition.
No.
Spinning around like that and then going and whipping the balls, like,
No.
it's entertaining. I loved it.
We didn't have anything like that on 16. Did you have it on 22?
No, nothing like that on 22. We did not even
I was
get to do the
dreading
slip
that.
inside.
I was dreading that. Yeah,
You know?
I was dreading the. Oh yeah, that's right. You didn't.
Yeah, so I didn't get to compete in any of these. Like, I finally got a wall on 22. I finally got an endurance comp, but
You got a wall on 16.
no. Oh yeah, but that was me versus you versus Victoria.
I know the stud of the endurance comp of the season.
Oh
me.
yeah, bro. Yeah, I was like, I don't know, Derrick.
Yeah, right. I was demoralized. I just was putting on a good show. If you remember, I tried to get you to go off, but that wasn't.
I didn't recall in there. Actually, I'm not even kidding. In there, when you were like trying to get me down, I was thinking in my head, I was like, is this a joke? Like, is he serious?
Yeah, that was embarrassing on me. That was like my one thing where it was like, even you were like, and you loved me. You were like, Derrick, you don't think you can be Victoria in part 3?
Shut up. Just drop it.
Is that where we're going? Just drop down, dude. My hands are sweating, and I'm sitting. People don't know this, but we stayed up there forever.
Yeah.
We were up there for over an hour.
Yeah. Remember, because it was a part of the final HOH. That tiebreaker.
Don't remind me of the tiebreaker, okay?
I'm just saying,
I know.
that was the question.
All right? All right, yeah, I know.
All right,
Would you beat me by 3? Would you beat me by 3 seconds?
We're digressing.
It doesn't bother me, though, I swear. It doesn't bother me at all that you broke the tiebreaker. No, not at all. I'm like this. If you guys can't see it.
For those of you listening on the audio version, Derrick is having a tough time drinking his coffee at 10 o'clock at night, but he'll be up all night tonight.
So we didn't get to do that, but it was a great competition. Christian wins. Yep. Again, we've already kind of established, and we're going to talk about him more. Christian is a good competitor.
Yeah, man.
The kid's a good competitor, and he wins the veto. He obviously decides not to use it because although Brent thinks he's still part of the slaughterhouse, he's in with the royal flush. Again, just to give you a quick synopsis, Brent thought there was a lot of things going on this week in his favor. In reality, they were the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Everybody was in on it except Brent and maybe Brittany. So Christian decided not to use the veto, leaving Brent and Brittany as your nominees for the week and up for eviction on tonight.
Yeah, and the thing is, Brent, he just was like misguided. You mentioned this. You touched on it a little bit last week. He still was hanging on to the slaughterhouse, and I think he really let that hurt his game. He was still hanging on to his relationship with Frenchie. And then as Frenchie was dragging a lot of people, a lot of that conversation that Frenchie was having last week was kind of falling on deaf ears. Everybody was like, whatever, Frenchie. But Brent was taking it to heart, and I really do think that is where the downfall started happening because he was running all over the place, getting paranoid. And then this week, at the end of last week, he kind of tried to force an alliance between the Queens and his team, which his team, when it was happening, was like, hey, dude, we don't really want any part of this. But they mentioned, they touched on it a little bit tonight. It was called the Mafia. So he thought he had the numbers, which I think for someone like Brent, he was playing the game. He was somebody that, I have this alliance. And then maybe never was really watering those seeds. He was just like, I have an alliance. So, I'm good. Look at this, what I created. And he kind of let the game go right by him. Yeah.
And again, it's one of those things where, Frenchie hit it on in our last interview. When you're playing the game and you don't have access to the live feeds, you're only seeing one perspective. Right. And there's a whole different game being played in these other rooms. And Brent is someone just like Frenchie where, and I said this earlier today to someone, Brent and Frenchie are examples that the game is a lot harder than it looks.
Yes.
It just is.
It totally is.
And you can tell by his reaction that he was like, he was trying to play it down, which I think everybody does, where it's like, I knew this was coming. But he didn't. He didn't until maybe the last day when he wasn't getting any affirmation that he was going home. So we're up to the live eviction. Speeches weren't great. Really nothing to talk about there. Brittany's speech, she did her thing. I'm glad she didn't rap again.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just not a fan of that.
No.
But Brent's speech was, terrible.
Yeah.
It wasn't very good. And that's, again, nothing against Brent. He could have called some people out, but I think maybe he was hoping that he was still going to stay. Yeah. But We all know that wasn't the case,
Right.
and as expected, Brent is evicted 11-0.
Zip.
So there you go. There's your unanimous vote.
First
I wonder
shutout.
how shout out season 16, right?
Yes, sir. We were world class at just getting the full swing vote going. I don't even know if it's called a swing vote, unanimous vote. Where did that come from?
It's just like last week. It was Lion King, Simba for life, bud.
Yeah,
Simba for life.
just keep going along with it. I appreciate you, bro.
I just always go, yeah, man, I
yeah.
agree. But listen, back to Xavier, because we knew Brent was going home. This is a win. Guys, if you end up playing Big Brother in the future, I know it's boring to everyone watching on television. We get that. But when you're HOH, you want the house to be behind you. And there's no better way to confirm the house supports your decision than to have a unanimous vote. So I'm sure Xavier is feeling really good right now.
Yeah, he did a great job. I mean, his pawn essentially stayed. Hopefully he, gets to work on that relationship and rebuild it. Granted, we all know now at this point, she doesn't win the HOH. So that's another good thing.
Yes.
He is now safe because of who did win the HOH. And so essentially you had an HOH reign where the whole house voted the way you wanted to, and now the following week, somebody wins that's not only on your team, in your alliance, working with you. And so it couldn't have gone any better for Xavier from 1 week into it was a great HOH week and a smooth transition into the following week. So he is.
Well, talk about it. Talk about tonight. Let's get right into that as far as HOH comp tonight.
Yeah.
Let's roll
so
with it.
the HOH comp happened tonight. It was a quick comp. It was a little bit of like a 3D puzzle.
I like those, dude. I wish we had more of those.
Yeah, so we did. We had one of those on All Stars. It was a blast.
We had nothing.
We had the fire hydrant.
Yeah,
they're difficult, but
dude,
they're fun.
the fire hydrant. Memphis won.
Man, Memphis was another person that I think is just an absolute beast competitor. He's a monster.
He smoked that comp too.
Wasn't even. I think
that puzzle was a lot harder because I think for time reasons, your wasn't an HOH. Yours was like a veto.
No,
wasn't
it was an
it?
HOH.
But was it live on TV? It was live on TV.
I don't think they were expecting to show the result, to be honest. But he finished it so fast.
He smoked it. Yeah. That puzzle looked a lot harder than the because their puzzle, it's still 3-dimensional, but it was only you're only looking at two sides. Where yours was literally 3-dimensional. Yours had a 360 degree
back side of it, right?
With the fire hydrant. Dude, those puzzles, they look hard.
Yeah, and the thing is they were all working on it together. So not only are you working on it right here up close where you can maybe miss something, you have your team in the background helping you out. And
that's true. I didn't think about that.
It's got to go. So
you know what you're going to do when you go up there.
And you know what you're going to do. So you're also seeing it from afar while you're helping your teammate. And then you could have people watching where sometimes these time comps, people time out. Yeah. It happened in a veto in our season.
Yes.
3 people timed out. I think I timed out. I think Ian timed out. I think Kevin timed out. So it's like, these things having a team effort going there is a pretty good thing. So they had the team effort. It looked like it was pretty close all around, where some teams looked like they were doing well, but then the patterns were matching up. And ultimately, the Kings won another HOH. So for back-to-back weeks now, this entire team is safe, and they're the only team that's left with 4 players on their team, with a full team.
Well, wait, maybe I'm confused. So it's Christian, Alyssa, and Sarah Beth.
No, Christian, Alyssa, Sarah Beth, and Xavier.
And Xavier, that's right. Yeah. That's right. So Xavier's safe,
didn't get to compete, but because
his team won.
Right, and because all the other teams have lost a player, they were competing even with the other teams.
Yeah,
There's only 3
that's
of
right.
them.
That's right. And the Kings are a solid team.
Yeah.
I will say this, it's going to be interesting because Sarah Beth's name's been thrown around, Alyssa's been thrown around, Christian's been thrown around.
Yep.
They're all off the table now.
Yep.
Xavier wasn't getting put up by anybody anyway,
no.
so that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see how alliances kind of decide what they're going to do because half of the Royal Flush is not eligible for nomination, so that's good.
Yep.
You have some individuals who, we can dive right into it. Yeah. So we have these 2 major alliances, and then we're going to get into the hit list. Yeah. We have these 2 major alliances that I think are running the house.
They're going to be the ones that are going to be going through the entire season. These are going to be the alliances of season 23.
So you have the Royal Flush, which you were explaining to me again earlier because I was a little confused, but it's the Kings, the Queens, and 1 ace and Derrick X.
Yes, correct.
So run the names down for people who don't know Kings and Queens.
So on the Queens team, you have Kyland, you have Tiffany, and you have Claire. They linked up with the Kings team, which is Xavier, Sarah Beth, Alyssa, and Christian, and then they call them their ace up the sleeve, and Derrick X, who's in the best position here? Probably Derrick X, because he's in this alliance while he also has his team where this Royal Flush Alliance is just a merge of two teams with one additional player. And then I'll let you get into the cookout. But so that's the one alliance, the Royal Flush, and then the other alliance that we think is really the two that are going to be either battling, but they have people in each of them, but they're going to be the front runners of this season.
Yep, the cookout. And again, the Royal Flush, as we've seen on the feeds, they're congregating, they're getting together as a group, they're discussing strategy. Mm-hmm. For people on the outside, like the Sarah Beth is not in it.
Sarah Beth is not in what?
Is not in the Royal Flush, right?
Yeah, she is, because she's on the Kings.
Okay, so who's not in the Royal Flush right now? So we have Kings, Christian, Alyssa, you just said it, Xavier, Sarah B, Queens, Claire.
Azza,
so people, Whitney,
Derrick F.
Yep.
Kyland is in it.
Kyland's in it.
Yeah. So you have Xavier.
So you have only a few people left that aren't in it, but my point I'm trying to make is when you go into Big Brother, everyone starts on an equal footing, right? There's a foundation. We all start on day one, and you have the luxury of seeing relationships develop firsthand. So if you're being observant, you should be able to have a read on who is gravitating towards who's hanging out on the hammock, who's cooking together, who's working out together, who's sitting on the couch just talking about life, who's who's exercising together, whatever it may be.
Because you tend to go towards the people that make you feel comfortable.
You go towards the people that make you feel comfortable. And if there's a bigger alliance, what you'll find is that these people all end up in the bathroom together, or they'll all end up in the HOH room, or you'll walk in the back room and suddenly the same 4 or 5 people are in there again, even if it's only for a couple minutes. And if you're a student of the game, you should start to pick up on that's possibly alliance. So we talked about the Royal Flush, and I think people like Whitney, the people that we were just discussing on the outside, Azza, Derrick F., they should start to pick up on the Royal Flush because they're always together and maybe they're not putting each other up. That's another reason, right? The cookout is super dangerous. And the reason the cookout is super dangerous is because this is a relationship, this is an alliance that's based on something bigger than the game. It's an unspoken trust for each other. And so people like Claire, people like Derrick X, people like Sarah Beth, who are good players, they're computing what's going on, what they're seeing with their eyes. The cookout barely meets as a group.
They literally walk by each other.
They just look at each other, and there's an understanding like, I'm not putting you up no matter what, and you're not putting me up. And we don't need to sit together and kind of collaborate because we know who's eligible for eviction and who isn't, and we don't need to discuss it. So for people on the outside of the cookout, including Derrick X, who has a good read on a lot of people, including Claire, who's written journals on Big Brother, they're not going to pick up on that more than likely. Because, again, this is an unspoken trust that was established the minute they walked in the house. And so I think that alliance, not only that alliance, but many of their members are in the Royal Flush. So you have in the Royal Flush who are in the cookout, you have Tiffany, you have Xavier, and you have Kyland. Some of the best players in the game, and they're in both. They're in both alliances.
And you saw a little bit about it because I think Hannah was brought in a little bit late to the cookout. Because now on the live show, at first I was confused. I was like, "Is Hannah actually in it?" But now every time they mention it,
slipped.
Hannah's included. And you saw where this trouble's going to start to happen because Christian, Alyssa, Sarah Beth, they were all talking with Xavier. How's this next week going to go? Christian mentioned, "Hey." Hannah and somebody else, I think. I think it was Hannah and maybe Whitney. And now Xavier immediately is like sitting in a situation where he's like, this could be trouble.
Hannah can't go up.
But
Hannah can't go up for
at the end of the day is that if Hannah does go up, the numbers are still there. I think what do you need in this week? There's going to be 13 players, 3 not voting, 10, so 5 splits it.
5 splits it, yeah. So you need 6 to stay.
6 to stay. So at the end of the day, they're going to have votes for the cookout. The cookout is very close.
That's 5
to having the votes, no matter what happens. As long
they
as
need one person
is not nominated, as long as 2 of them are not nominated.
And I'm so glad you said that because that's why this is why we have to talk about this because as the game dwindles down and there's less people, that original, I know it was like you just said, the cookout was originally 5. Now it's 6, right? Including Hannah. Azza slipped and told her the name of the cookout for those of you who weren't watching the feeds. 6 people on the same side and with an unwavering trust and loyalty for each other. Sign me up. Sign me up. So like you just said, they already got 5 people who will not vote for Hannah. So for the blind spot, that's, that is Claire, that is Sarah Beth, that is Christian, that is Derrick X. They might not see that coming. So it's going to be so interesting to see how this week goes, because you have people that are outside the cookout and all of them are in the flush. All of them are in the royal flush. Yes, all the kings are in the flush. So, but you have 4 people who are outside the cookout who aren't eligible for, well, Xavier's in the cookout, but the other 3 are not eligible for eviction, because if Christian hadn't won this week, if that team hadn't won this week, I could see a situation where Christian
100%.
or Alyssa were on the block.
Yeah, because strictly because Christian and Alyssa, unless the Kings keep winning, they're going on the block, because now you're going to have another week where the Kings are going to hold strong at 4, and one team here is going to drop to 2. What do you think the consensus of the group is going to be now after this week? With
got to go after
Kings,
Kings.
got to split the Kings up, because now you think about it in terms of even further down the line into the jury house and further into winning the game. You're putting 4 members of a team into the jury, which means 3 votes could possibly go that way if one of the team members are sitting in the finals.
That's right.
So there's a lot more that's going to – and now we're getting into the 4th week, bro. This is where this aspect of the game really starts to kick up, because you'll see – I'm seeing people start to talk about it. But, yeah, I think the Cookout Alliance is extremely dangerous, because – you saw a little bit this week where there may have been cracks where Ozzy didn't really like how Brittany was being treated.
But they still ain't putting her up.
It's nothing's going to happen. And maybe in another situation, it would have been like, well, I don't know if I like this alliance anymore. But that alliance, they're not going to.
They're ride or die. They're ride or die. And that's what you need in that house. So kudos to them, because I see them going very far. Dangerous. I would even say they're the most dangerous alliance in the house. I think they're even stronger than the Royal Flush, because I think at the end of the day, Kyle and Xavier and Tiffany, their loyalty will be
to the cookout,
cookout, not to the Royal Flush. So but we talked about the onion, right? Having multiple layers of your real alliance protected, and I think that they have that. So it's great for them. I do want to ask you one question before we get into the hit list. How many more weeks? How many more weeks do you see this team thing happening before they say, "Okay, we're taking the collars off. Go at it, boys and girls." What are you thinking?
I thought they would get rid of it right around when they get rid of the wild card comp, which is going to be, this is the last week for the wild card comp. Now, I don't have anything to go. I don't have any basis of why I'm saying that, but how long could you really go for this? You can't. You're going to carry it in through jury, because jury's happening in another week. Because first 5 gone. Next 9 into jury. So
how many weeks did we have battle the block? It wasn't many.
It was a lot. I think the first one that wasn't battle of the block was when it was the knockout HOH competition and Nicole came back.
Yeah, you won that one.
And then it was gone, because remember the week before is when, because the week before was Zach and me were on the block after losing. Caleb and me were on the block. Then Caleb got taken down and Zach got put up. That's when Caleb and I lost to Donnie and Christine.
Yep.
Then the next week was Nicole and Christine were the HOHs. Then Christine came down. That's when Frankie did the whole thing. And then Nicole went up. Then Nicole went home, came back, and there was no battle of the block.
That's right. So it went pretty deep.
Yeah, it was very deep. I remember
so it was into jury almost.
Yeah.
It was.
Dude,
so it could.
Yeah, they could.
It could go another week or two. I can't wait. I don't like the teams. I know it's a twist and you got to adapt to it. I didn't like Battle of the Block. I really didn't.
I agree with you.
It worked out well for us, but I when I first heard about it, I didn't like it. And this one, it's like one person wins HOH, but 4 people especially on the Kings, are safe. So I want to see everybody up for eviction. So we'll see how much longer it goes. I will say this. There's probably a predetermined amount of time that Big Brother has set for this, but I also think and I have nothing to prove this, but if they feel like it's being too heavy-handed one way or the other, they'll end it. They'll end it early, but
they will not. And
you don't think
the only reason why I know they won't is because I read an article about that Rich Meehan and Allison Grodner were interviewed. I don't know if I can find it. I read through it all when the Big Brother stuff was starting getting talked about, and Rich Meehan said. So for those of you that don't know, executive producer Rich Meehan and Allison Grodner, 2 big wigs of the show.
They are the goats. Yeah, they are the show. Yeah,
Rich literally goes, "We set and predetermine everything beforehand, and then we let it play out.
And that's it.
We don't change it." And so he said that. That was his quote. And so I don't think they will. So whatever
you know, people are gonna say out there, right? He's full of shit.
Yeah,
That's what all the
you're right. You're right. I don't even know why I said that.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, yeah. So he said that to a magazine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Cody, you're just trying to get back on the show again, loser.
No, I mean, listen. I personally think that they can sometimes, if they feel the show is for ratings.
Yes.
If they feel like the show is not doing well or not scaling well, I feel like they might call some audibles. Yeah. I personally do. Obviously, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Yeah. You know, I felt like when we played against Donnie, I felt like there were things being done to help Donnie a little bit. It's maybe could have been paranoia on my part, but when we got a Team America thing and it was like the options for America was to save Donnie. Yeah. I was like,
what?
Okay.
What?
I was like, they can keep that 5
I gotta tell you, bro. My dad went absolutely ape shit when he was like, this is bull. He was like hitting up Roach and was like, this is bullshit. You guys are skewing the game. Blah blah blah. The integrity.
when to keep Donnie?
Yeah,
really?
when to keep Donnie when that thing happened.
You never told me this.
I didn't. Oh man,
no.
Bro, my dad was livid.
But how did that affect you though?
Well, it didn't. He was saying that you guys are literally trying to like change, like the fact that that's even put in there. It wouldn't have affected me. Like I don't know. I probably wouldn't.
Donnie loved you. Donnie loved you.
The thing is, I don't think my dad liked that Team America had that choice, and he's like. Derrick and Frankie would never be keeping Donnie unless you're going to give them money. So you're pretty much handing money to two players. You're handing money to two players to make a decision that they would never make if you weren't doing it. So that's why he went fucking berserk.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people.
And he's
again, we're not here to talk. He is. We're not here to talk about 16, but it's funny because you know, like people are like, oh, you know, Derrick had an advantage working with Donnie. You know, and you're my boy, but I never wanted to work with Donnie. I like Donnie on a personal level, but I didn't want to work with Donnie week one when you told me before anything bad. You were like, Donnie tried to make an alliance with me, Hayden, and I was like, okay, well, I want him gone because he doesn't want to work with me. Right. And he didn't like me from the jump. He didn't like me from the jump. So I wanted to get him out, and Team America really kind of screwed me with that because I'd be going in. Dude, I was going in rooms and telling him how my brain worked, which made him not trust me even more. Because he was like, wow.
You were divulging information that you would have never been talking to him about because you guys were linked with Team America.
No. So I would have, and Donnie and I have spoken about it. We're on good terms now. For everybody who doesn't know that, he came out to my book signing and stuff. I love Donnie on a personal level, but we weren't destined to work together in the game. But enough about Big Brother 16.
We can tie that to this season because the same way you're talking about that with Team America, some of these players are dealing with this with the team aspect. Derrick X,
that's true.
He had that with Brent. It's like obviously Derrick X didn't want to work with Brent, and so now I mean, how many other teams is that kind of a storyline that? There's just been other stuff going on, so they're not showing us. We're going to find out about that in the upcoming
We are going to find out. And we went a little long on the opening. We said we weren't going to. That's us talking about Big Brother 16 and reminiscing. We're about 30 minutes in. We like to keep the show about an hour. And on top of that, we are interviewing Brent tonight. Yes. So we are on a time crunch. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to, and again, like we always do, our hit list is pretty on point from last week. There's some movement, but not much. So the first couple people will probably go quickly through because we want to spend time on the next group. But let's jump right into it. Number 13, without further ado, is I don't think any surprise to anyone. It's Brittany.
She moved down a spot from last week, and so Brittany. And the reason is we touched on this a little bit in the beginning. Brittany just to us seems like somebody that probably is going to be popping on the block. You know, this isn't going to be her last time on the block unless something really drastic happens and the house blows up and alliances absolutely crumble. But I think Brittany is going to be an easy scapegoat to just continue to put on the block, which is why, even if she's not going home, it's never a great position to be in to win the game. So that's why we have her falling a spot and dropping to number 13. Next on the list, we have Whitney, who, jumps up a spot, which is, great and all, but she still is jumped up from 13 to 12.
Yeah, and again, this is a tier. So Whitney and Brittany are in the same tier for us. We, as of right now, I don't see a path for Whitney or Brittany to win this game. They're in, like, Whitney's in the Royal Flush, but she's in it because of her team.
Whitney is not in the Royal Flush.
What team is she on? Jesus, I'm off with these squads.
Whitney's
in the Aces. You're right. You're right. She's not even in the Royal Flush.
Brent, who's gone, Derrick X, and so
you're
Whitney's
right.
Just in trouble. She's just in trouble.
So you're proving my point even more, which is Whitney is not in any big alliance, and she's just I think they're just buying
Yeah.
time. They're just buying time. They're going to go as soon as the game starts to get real, and I don't see a path for either one of them to win right now. But the good news is they're really the only two that I don't think we see a path for. Everybody else, although they may be in different spots on this list, they're in the game still, and they have a chance. They all have a chance, and that's pretty good to think because that's 11 people left who could all potentially win this game. So let's hop right into tier 3.
We still have one more in this tier, right?
No, we have Whitney and Brittany,
and
and the next tier is going to be
Alyssa starts us off here.
Yep. And the reason why Alyssa's in there is partially because her counterpart right now, Christian, who we're going to talk about a little bit later, he's showing he's a player. And he just won HOH, so Alyssa's safe this week. So although she's not out of the game yet, she is at the bottom of that tier 3. Yeah. She's going to have to start winning some comps, but she feels like she's more vocal. She's more vocal in the groups. She's in the Royal Flush. She's actually speaking a little game. She's not just sitting there kissing Christian.
Yeah, she's not that person.
She's
not that person. And the best part about the situation that she's in is that if they're going to target the showmance, who do you think they're going after unless they win the veto?
Christian.
Period. So 100%. She's almost in a better situation there. Now, is she going to beat him in a veto comp? Probably not. But if the HOH or somebody else wins and they want to keep the noms the same, goodbye Christian, which means Alyssa now gets her other half cut. And if she plays it right, if he gets cut, she could maybe fall back and then just find her way towards moving further into this game as other people start targeting each other.
I could see her being potentially down the road like a Jessica Nixon, where Cody goes and they forget about
Jess
her.
went first.
And, but
you may be thinking Jeff and Jordan, bro. That's like the biggest example in my head.
No, because Cody Nixon went first and he got brought back into the house. Yes.
Oh, he on the buyback?
No, he played against, remember Paul Abrahamian? Yeah. Cody was there and they said, we choose Paul for the house to go against Cody. And if Cody beats him, Cody's back in the game. And Cody beat him and came back.
Oh, and then Jess went home.
And then Jess went
Cody
home.
went into jury. Okay, so
a lot of people said the worst thing that happened was Cody coming back because Jessica was starting to.
Yeah, because Cody was gone.
She was starting to make alliances with people and starting to be in relationships with other people.
Yes.
But again, she has the potential where she could be a really good Big Brother player. Alyssa has that potential if she's not there yet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying she's Jessica Nixon, but I'm saying she's someone who, if she's able to separate social, her relationship with Christian from the game, she could get really far.
Yeah.
I don't see her winning yet. She's not one of my favorites. Clearly, she's number 11 on our list, but she's not out of the game. Yeah. There's a path to victory for her.
Yeah. And I think the start of that path, to be honest, as sad as it is to say, would be Christian probably going home.
Beat me. She's a big target right now. Not only is she on the Kings, but she's also in the only showmance.
Coming her way. It's coming her way quick once they don't have power. Which brings us to our next person who slips again, and that is Azah. And I'll tell you what, Azah's slipping because she's just showing more and more that, she does have the Cookout Alliance that is ultimately going to be protecting her because at the end of the day, there's 3 people in that alliance that have, their claws in this game and are really, the ones moving the chess pieces. And so she's going to be protected by that. But other than that, she's really doing nothing for me in this game. She's kind of playing emotional. She's playing emotional where, with Brittany being nominated. And why is my team being targeted? You were on the team with Frenchie, who was the most crazy, toxic player in the house that needed to go. And Brittany is just, she's not really forming any relationship. She's kind of going into her comfort zone with her team. So it's Azah, you're being taken care of. Your team isn't going to be what carries you to this game. Your alliance is. So just go with it. Just go with it.
And that said, Azah, personal level, possibly my favorite person in the house. She has a heart of gold, but a heart of gold in the game isn't going to get you to the end. So big difference between Big Brother and the real world. We can tell Azah's a great person. Is she cut out for Big Brother? She doesn't even seem like she cares if she goes home tomorrow. She's already said it. Put me up. If I go home, I go home. I don't care. So she's not in it to win it like a Tiffany or something like that, where they're going to do what they need to do to win. But she is, because of her relationships and how strong the Cookout is and how strong some of the Cookout members are ingrained in the Royal Flush. I don't see a world where she's in trouble even this week. I mean, maybe, but I doubt it. I doubt that Xavier or anyone would let that happen. No. She's eligible for nomination, right?
Yeah, she's eligible. But
I don't
because Christian, at the end of the day, you got to think about it. And Xavier's got to be really, really careful. He's got to be really careful with how he takes this conversation.
How much he pushes it.
You know what I mean? And he did a good job. He was very aware of it when Hannah's name came up. He knew. He was like, I really want to defend that. I really want to try to switch it. You have to be careful because you have to do it the right way. So that's what brings Azah there. And then next on the list we have Derrick
Christian.
Yeah,
you almost hit the
no, yeah, I did. Because I'm trying to look, and I have everything crossed out. And But yeah, we have Christian who moves up a spot, and really,
yes,
he moves up a spot
HOH
because
this
he's
week.
the HOH.
Yeah, he moves up. He's HOH. He is showing that he's a great competitor. He's in the Royal Flush, so he's got a big alliance. He's got a ride or die in Alyssa, although she's not shown yet that she can win a lot of competitions. But he has shown you put him in a situation where he's got to win a comp. The dude can do it. So they may have to backdoor him to get him out, because if he's going up against one or two people, from a statistical standpoint, he's going to beat you right now. So
because he's shown it. When he competed against two other people, he beat it. When he competed against 4 people, he won that. I'm talking about the first HOH, and now he just won a veto. So, and the reason why Christian is not, you would think okay, he's HOH and we have him in a better position. And quite frankly, the reason why he only moved up one spot, and I don't think he's in the greatest position, is because of how many competitions he's won, because he has a showman.
People targeting him.
And also, even though he's in the Royal Flush, you saw Tiffany, Claire, Derrick X all talking about targeting Kings and more of a focus on Christian and Alyssa. So, he won the HOH. He's got these alliances, but do I feel like he's in the greatest spot? No, I don't feel very confident.
No, and honestly, I'll tell you what, him winning HOH tonight is not good for him.
That's another
because he had in a perfect world for him, Alyssa or Sarah Beth would have won, because then he could compete next week. Now he's going to be relying on Xavier, Sarah Beth, and Alyssa to protect him next week, and you could have Xavier throw the comp just because he's like, hey,
somebody else.
I don't want another one, and whoever wins wants to put him up, so I can't win.
And also, the other thing is you could see what happened with, Hannah and Derrick X throwing the competition to get someone on their team out, and Xavier might be like, you know what, this may be the best thing for my game because I'm not going to take a shot at the Royal Flush, so maybe I let somebody else do it, and so.
Yep. So that's why we have him where he is. We think it's justified. He could continue to move up. We'll see how he does, just like with everybody else, how he does with HOH this week. But, he's this is going to be an interesting week because the target isn't as clear cut as it has been in past weeks. So this might be our first week of some dissension, some waves as far as where agreements are, as far as who should be on the block, who should go home. So it'll be interesting to see how he navigates that.
Yeah. And that brings us to our next person, which is somebody that didn't move at all, just kind of remains in that floater category because
that floater category,
which again we're going to touch on. I know the term floater may seem like something that's a negative connotation, but in this situation, it's still super early in the game, and it's not a horrible spot to be. Derrick has said this multiple times. He's in a good position.
Yeah, tier 3.
He's in tier 3, and he's at the top of tier 3 because nobody's really talking about him. And he has good relationships. He has his alliance. And so to be called a floater may seem negative, but we're just talking about in the sense of he's kind of just floating through the game, not really ruffling any feathers, not really doing anything to make himself stand out.
Nope. And he's not in the Royal Flush, but he is in the Cookout, which, as we've said earlier, is an alliance more powerful than anything in there. So he's got a lot of protection around him. And so he's kind of untouchable right now. And it's going to be interesting to see what he does down the road because he does seem like he has a decent relationship with Azah. And here's the thing about Derrick F too. When you start looking at outside things, I definitely think he wants to win.
Yeah.
And I don't know his situation, and so I won't go into it too much. But his father was a world-class boxer, so I'm assuming he's not as hurting as much financially as some of the other house guests. Maybe I don't know. I don't know how much Joe Frazier made in his career or whatever. That was back in the day. They weren't getting paid a lot, but I think he is there to have a good summer. He's there to have fun. He's there to play a good social game. And I think when you're not as concerned about winning as you are about staying in the house as long as you can and having fun and, whatever his agenda is, he's going to last a long time. I think people see that he's just like kind of floating with it, and so, you see the jokes on Twitter and on the feeds, he's always like laying down.
Yeah, whenever you see him, he's on the couch. Where's Derrick F? Oh, he's in bed.
Shout out to his friends that are running his Twitter. I stumbled upon it. They actually changed his profile pic to him laying down because he like the leaning Derrick F. Yeah, so that's cool that they're having fun with him.
But hey, if you have friends that are doing that, that's the best thing. Because hey,
dude, it's great. It's great.
If you can learn to laugh at this whole situation and laugh at yourself and have some fun with it, the fans really like that too, and they really they have fun.
And by the way, somebody tagged me in it. You know, I'm a fan of Derrick F because they were having a conversation about some of the past good-looking house guests.
He mentioned you.
Shout out to Derrick F and Tiffany because they said I was kind of ugly without a beard, but once I threw that beard on. But after I threw the beard on, what they said me, Tiffany was like, listen, when Derrick came in that house and I looked at his photo, I wouldn't mess with that. But when he threw out that goatee and the beard, the glasses, he was doing all right. And he said, and Derrick F was like, he wasn't, oh my God, but he was good looking. And you know what, Derrick F, I appreciate you.
Listen, I say that to you all the time. I feel like you dog yourself more than other people actually do because you're a good looking guy. And not to like stroke you too much, you know, we're not going to get into this like whole thing, but I feel like, you know, keep it coming, baby. Come on, don't stop.
Keep up. But listen, you ain't going to get me to talk bad about Derrick F this week. Because, I mean, listen.
Hey.
Derrick F, you're cute too, my friend. You know what I mean? Listen.
How you doing?
How you doing? Now, we got to stick together. But I like Derrick F. Derrick F is someone who I want to be around, and that's who you want to be in the house. You want to be someone where people like spending time with you. Because at the end of the day, that could be the differentiating factor between you going on the block or you staying. So, shout out to Derrick F. You're right where you need to be at this point in the game. At some point, you are going to have to step up, maybe win some comps, maybe solidify some final twos. But at this point, you're doing all right, brother. So keep doing your thing.
Derrick F, that is one thing that he does. He's throwing out final twos like it's like candy on Halloween. He's got a final two with Xavier. He's got a final two with Kyle and Christian.
Which is a problem because they're not. They got final twos with other people too. But
you know,
for right now, he might be able to stay around where they cannibalize each other, and then maybe he gets through. But there are some people who we feel, and this is going to be tier 2, who are playing slightly better than him at this point, but not much. So let's jump right into tier 2. We're going to start with someone who's dropped 2 spots, and that's Hannah.
Yeah, and now I want to say this about Hannah. It's not dropping 2 spots because she did something to really negatively impact this rating. It's just the fact that we feel like other people, because of different alliances that got solidified, have just jumped ahead of her slightly. Now, this is like a hair of a difference between these tier 2 players. These tier 2 players, I think, are all doing a very, very good job, are very closely ranked. But it's just, I think, you know, we'll get into it when we name the next 2 people. But I think Hannah still is in a really good position. She has the cookout that is going to be obviously looking out for her. I also think she has a good grasp on the game. The only problem is that I don't know how many other relationships she has because I know she's on a team with Whitney, but I don't know how great her relationship is with Whitney. I know she has
and Whitney's not the best partner to have because Whitney's not really doing. She's not tight in anything either.
Yeah.
Now Hannah's in the spot she's in right now, like you said, because other people have kind of stepped up and doing a little better. But Hannah is in a position of vulnerability, especially this week because. Christian could easily put her on the block. Her name has been thrown around before. They all know how smart she is. They know that she's playing it down. So she could be in trouble. Someone who's not in trouble, who's playing a very similar game to Hannah in a lot of ways, is our number 6 spot, which is Sarah Beth. Sarah B, or SB as they call her on the feed. She's moving up one spot. So tier 2 Sarah B coming through and now safe. Safe this week without having to win an HOH.
And that was also part of it. She just has now 2 weeks of safety. And when you have that full week of guaranteed safety, like you've been guaranteed safety, you play the game a little differently. You play it with a little more like calm. You don't have the nerves. Like you have conversations because you know, like I don't have to worry about what happens with the veto. I don't even have to worry about playing. I am not going up as a replacement and I still get to compete next week. You almost have like the best of both worlds. You have the freedom and the safety of an HOH without having to get blood on your hands and also getting to compete.
Exactly. Yep. No, exactly.
So, yeah.
She's looking good. She's looking great. And, again, these tier 2 people are kind of interchangeable. I would, especially Sarah B and Hannah. But I would say this next player, who's at number 5,
he's on his way up.
He's on his way up, man. He's, other than not being in the cookout, even in the people in the cookout are talking positive about wanting to keep him as the last person before it's just
That's
the cookout.
Huge.
I mean, you guys know who we're talking about. Number 5, Derrick X, moving up a spot. He's +1. Derrick X is doing a great job with this game. His DRs have been good. He knows what he's doing. He can win competitions. He's the whole package.
He really. That's the best way to describe Derrick X. He's got the whole package. The only thing that is obviously keeping him where he's at is just, he has won a few comps. So we got to wait and see if he can kind of like fall back, because we saw it in the episode where they're talking about like, you don't need to win another HOH. It would be bad for you to win another competition because that's going to put a target on you. So he's in a really good spot, but now he's got to juggle that whole factor of, I can't win another competition because is that going to put a huge target on my back? But the good thing,
kind of why he's doing it with the wild card, and stuff. I mean, he threw that partially because he didn't want Brittany. Oh no, he didn't want Brent to be safe if he won the wild card. But still throwing it. No, he's doing great. Our next spot, we're gonna give a quick round of applause for this person because we said if they had a great week, they could make it to tier 1. We want to send out a congratulations to our boy, Kylan.
Yes, sir.
Kylan.
He didn't move.
Attaboy.
He didn't move spots, so he stays at number 4, but he moved up in a tier.
Correct. And that's what I'm talking about. We said, hey, Kylan has a great week this week. We're moving him into tier 1. He could have potentially been into tier 1 last week. Yeah. But with Xavier putting Brittany up, it actually helped Kylan.
Big time.
Because as we said, it diluted the amount of people that Brittany could attack if she happens to win an HOH. And again, he's now he's still in the strategic conversations, but as we talked about at the beginning of this episode, the 2 strongest alliances in the house are the Royal Flush and the Cookout. Kylan is in both of them. Kylan has the ear of Xavier. He has the ear of Tiffany. He has the ear of Sarah Beth. The dude is set up pretty, and man, he's a guy you want to be around again. He's like another. He's like a Derrick F.
I love Kylan. I think he's extremely likable. And think about this: he has legitimate final 2 spread out. He has a very legitimate final 2 with Tiffany.
People love him.
He has a very legitimate final 2 with Derrick X, and he's got it probably is his top 1 with Sarah Beth. I think Sarah Beth is number 1. I saw on the feed Tim mention it that, Sarah Beth is a person that I would really love to go to the end of this game with. And so these are final 2s where it's almost like all of these people may think like, no, Kylan is my final 2, and then he gets the pick. And, man, he's in such a good spot. I could see him continuing to move up. He showed really well in his HOH. He now showed well in the second week. He's found himself in 2 of the main alliances that we think are going to be running this season. I mean, this guy, he's just got and he's so likable. I'm happy someone that's so likable is doing so well.
Easy to root for. Easy to 100%. Root for. Okay, number 3, staying right where she was last week, Tiffany. What are your thoughts on Tiffany? Why did we keep Tiffany where she is? Why is she not 1 or 2?
One of my favorite things that happened this week.
Because people love Tiffany, by the way.
People love Tiffany because I'll tell you what. People love Tiffany because they watch the show and they're fans of somebody that is very entertaining and funny in the DR.
And she's a fan.
But she's also like good TV. She is great in the DR. Like she did her whole thing with Brent today with the moving it out. She's funny in the DR. She's fun, so she's fun to get behind. But I will tell you this. She said it to Xavier. She goes, Xavier, you need to do this week. You need to do a lot of this and not a lot of this. And I was like, Tiffany, listen to yourself. I'm like, please stop talking so much and please start listening more and stop telling Xavier, who definitely knows what he needs to do, what he should be doing, and start taking your own advice. So I got to be honest with you. I'm almost on the verge of Kylan passing up Tiffany because she just talks a lot and Kylan doesn't.
She has a better grasp on the game. She knows what's going on in the house more than Kylan. She sees everybody as a chess piece, and she's just moving chess pieces. But I do agree with you where it's okay to be the smartest person in the room. Just don't tell everybody you are. Like, she definitely has an amazing grasp of what's going on. Yes. She knows the temperature in the house. But she's already had a little mix up with Azza.
That was the other thing.
She said Azza checked her and stuff, and so it's going to be interesting to see how she responds to, like I said, some dissension, some disagreements. Because as you go further in the game, the cream of the crop are left, and they're not just going to do whatever you tell them to do. They're going to have their own opinion. So when you try to coach them, now that they're in the game as long as you have, they might be less apt to take your advice. And how is she going to react when she gives an opinion and they say, "Well, I respectfully don't agree with you."
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I think that you just mentioned it. It was she had that little bump in the road with Azza. And I got to be honest, the way that she kind of spoke with Azza was almost in a way where it's like, I'm going to do what I have to do, period. I don't care. And she didn't and this is why there's somebody on this list that we haven't named yet. And when Azah was obviously just like rightfully so. She was upset emotionally. I mean, maybe not rightfully so. She just didn't like what was going on with Brittany. But when the conversation came to Xavier calmed her down. It was very relaxing. Explain to her. When Tiffany had the conversation, it was almost like, no, I don't really care. And Azah, definitely, she may not act on it, but it's up here. And so now for later in the game, Azah may be like, and Azah comes into power. And now you have to target your alliance. Tiffany may be one of the first ones and I feel like this was just the start of some of those conversations happening for Tiffany, and it could be what hurts her game.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, we're not saying she's in trouble yet.
Right.
I think we both agree Tiffany's going late in the game. Mm-hmm. I know people have thrown her name out there as far as her, like Derrick X has thrown her name out there as being someone who everybody likes. Mm-hmm. But they're not targeting her anytime soon. The Britneys and Whitneys, I believe all those people go before her. Although I will say this, if they're smart, although I don't think the Cookout would ever do it, but if Brittany is on the block next to a Tiffany, you send Tiffany home because obviously Tiffany's a better player. Correct. But again, there are people in there playing for something bigger than the game, and therefore, no matter what the strategic value of it, they're not going to vote her out. So she has Tiffany's going very far. Tiffany's going very far in this game. I don't think either of us think otherwise. However, there are two people who we feel are playing better than Tiffany, and we're going to start with number 2. And this is a change, guys. This is a change.
This is why you come back every week.
Hit us with it. Who's number 2 this week?
Sliding down from the number 1 spot, we have Claire dropping to obviously who I think you all can assume is our number 1. But the real reason for this is because, quite frankly, our number 1 player is in 2 alliances that we think are going to be the ones running the house, and Claire, unfortunately, is not. And so Derrick, I'll let you go into it because you touched on it earlier, and that was really your point. And so you can get into really why Claire could be running into some trouble further down in the game.
I won't repeat myself, but I just said it, and I kind of gave the example with Claire where she's a student of the game. She knows what to look for, but the Cookout is hard to identify right now. It's hard to know that these individuals have an alliance that is stronger than any agreement you can make. And so maybe she picks up on it. I don't know. But as of right now, she is not part of the strongest alliance in the house, which is the Cookout. She is part of the Royal Flush, but the problem is she's in this really strong alliance in the Royal Flush, which has been infiltrated by the Cookout. Yeah. And I would argue that the 3 best members of the Royal Flush are the Cookout members, Xavier, Kylan, and Tiffany. Yeah. So she's not in trouble. But I feel like she's playing kind of a hands-off game. She's kind of standing in the background. This season is moving a lot faster than a lot of previous seasons. And my fear for Claire is that the game could be getting past her, where when she decides to step on the gas, the other people might have too much of a lead for her to catch up. Yeah. That's where I'm at because she is letting them get out in front of her right now. And that's okay because what happens is they'll lose endurance and then you can catch up and pass them at the finish line. But if Tiffany, Xavier, and Kylan have all their chess pieces in a row, by the time she goes to make her move, she might not have many. She might not have many places to go, and that could be an issue for her. So, although as of right now, face value, she's playing great. We're trying to project down the road as far as what she's setting up with these relationships, and I haven't heard anybody in the Cookout or the Royal Flush say, "Hey, regardless of what alliance I have in the Cookout, or whatever, I'm taking Claire to the end." They've all said we'll cut her. Yeah. So she's going to have to win some competitions. If she gets to the end, it's going to be because she was in trouble a couple times and won competitions to keep herself safe. That's the only way I think she's going to get there.
And then other people end up going home, and then you get to re-implement yourself into certain relationships that may have been dwindling a little bit. So Claire slips, and that brings us to the top spot. D, take away the top spot.
Yep. We all know who it is. It's our boy, Xavier. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. And I may eat my words. I think Xavier has the potential to be one of the better players to ever play this game. And it's because I don't see a major flaw in his game. If anything, it's that he's not a super fan of the game. He's not a student. It doesn't feel to me like he's watched every season, like a Tiffany or something. It feels like he's just a very fast learner. But the guy's super intelligent, super social, doesn't lose his cool, super athletic, very good looking, charismatic, great in the DR. Like, he's got it all. And again, the number one reason why these people are where they are is because, again, just like Kylan, just like Tiffany, he's in the strongest alliance in the house in the cookout, and also in the second strongest alliance. I would even call it 1B in the Royal Flush. And he's at the top of the totem pole, in my opinion, in both those alliances.
Yeah. The only thing that makes me nervous is the little segment where Derrick F goes ahead and starts calling out his own alliance member. You might be a lawyer. And he's like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, leave my name out of it. Don't bring me in.
But he can't even hide how intelligent he is.
It's impossible.
Even when he talks, you're like, bro, you're college educated. Yeah. I mean, where are we getting at here? Like, you're super. The words you use, I did it a couple times in there too with like police terms and stuff. But he has everything to gain and nothing. He has the full potential to go this entire game without ever being in trouble. It's people might throw his name around, but he's got some loyal followers. He's got some people who he can trust. He can confide in. And you laid it out a bunch of times, the way he kind of consoled Brittany, the way he kind of consoled Azah. He has that nurturing. Yes. I'm not here for just the game. I want to support you emotionally. Yes. Everyone wants that.
And when he had Brittany,
everyone wants the girl to cry on.
He's crying. He goes and talks to her, makes her feel a little bit better.
Whitney's got a crush on him too.
Yeah, man. He's just he's a very strong player all around. I love it.
Stud.
He's really good. He's fun to have on the show, to be honest. And I'm eager to see how he kind of grows into this second half of the game, because I think it's safe to say I don't know what scenario could happen where Xavier goes up and goes home. I mean,
not right now.
I'll tell you what,
not
I
right
would
now.
be so upset to actually have to put my foot in my mouth if that ends up happening, because I think he is so incredible at this game, and he's just a really likable person. And I think to his credit, because if he's not a super fan of the show and he's able to pick up on it this quickly, it just shows how intelligent he actually is. So it's crazy.
Yeah, and by the way, let me just put out the disclaimer there for whoever is saying this right now. This analysis of Xavier is in no way, shape, or form partially because Cody and I picked him from day one to win the game. I mean, we're completely objective here.
Objective, and it's as objective as it comes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're by the book.
If you try to disagree with that and say that we're being biased,
never.
Just take a step off our page.
Yeah.
But like the video first, and then give us a 5-star rating. Anyways.
Never. No, hey, so listen, congratulations to him. Congratulations to Tier 1. You guys are playing great. You guys can see the list. Shout out to the people who recommended on YouTube to do some color coding for the hit list. We like that idea. As you can see, we added the +1, -1, whatever the numbers are. We did green and red for people who moved up, people who moved down, because you guys said you wanted that. Keep those comments coming, guys. If there's something you would like, if it's within the realm of reasonableness, we'll do it. We cut down the introduction. We color-coded the thing. We're learning with you guys. This is a community. We're not doing this for the short term. We're doing it for the long term. So we want you guys to contribute to the show to help make it better. And listen, we say it every week. We're going to say it again. If you're listening on audio, please go over whatever podcast platform you're listening on. It takes 2 seconds. Give us a review. Give us 5 stars if you wouldn't mind. We'd appreciate it. It helps the channel grow. It gets us seen by more people. We would appreciate that. And if you're watching on YouTube, and if you haven't done it already, because we're averaging about 10,000 views a video, maybe a little bit more. We only have 5,000 subscribers right now. So we know there are people out there who are watching us every week. And all it's going to take is 1 second for you to like, comment, subscribe, hit the little notification bell so that you'll be notified the next time we post. And listen, you want to do that because, spoiler alert, right after this, we've already said it, we're going to be interviewing Brent. Little hint, you won't see this until after, but our interview with Brent is going to be going up earlier than it did the week prior, and you wouldn't know that unless you're getting notifications. So, Cody, why don't you wrap it up for anything you want to end this on? The week, what you're thinking?
I wanted to wrap up one little. It's a little bit of a lighter note. It was something that I saw happen this week, and I literally gave me like a little head shake. It was when Xavier walks into his own HOH room in his own bed, and there's two people making out. How would you have acted in that situation? Just keep it a little light. We took a deep dive. I got to know. How are you reacting if you walk into the HOH room and there's 2 people making out in your bed?
I think he handled it, again, we're definitely loving Xavier right now perfectly.
Yeah.
He wasn't upset. You would have been, but would you have showed it though?
The first time, definitely. The second time, maybe not. Probably not.
I don't think you would have. I think if you walked in and there was someone on your season, you would be like, oh, what? You would have like joked. You might have been pissed, but I think you're too good of a player to show it. And Xavier's too good of a player to show it, but he wasn't loving it. But it was a nice deal. But again, for Christian and Alyssa, by the way, he made note of that.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Go downstairs. Don't be in the, I got to be honest, it made me think of the situations where if I walked into my HOH room and there was a group of 3 people sitting in there talking, I would immediately be like, the fuck's going on in here? Why are you guys talking game in my HOH room? Now, again, I wouldn't show it. I'd be like, oh, okay. And then I would see the 3
hey, guys.
Hey.
They're eating your chips and stuff.
Oh, my potato chips. They're gone. Wonderful.
My booze is gone. Yeah, this is great.
Who drank my beers?
We had some we had some comfortable HOHs on 16, man. Everyone was just doing whatever they wanted.
We didn't have that.
I'd come in. You're in my bathroom. Caleb's eating my food. Zach's sleeping in my bed. It was like, who's HOH? We don't even know.
It was
this
an apartment.
But no, our season was basically summer camp. But
yeah,
no, it was. I will say that, no, it's a great point because I will say this: the Alyssa Christian thing, they got to kind of own the showmance now because it's going to come back on them too. If they keep trying to play it up like, oh, we're just brother and sister, nobody believes that.
No, don't, and don't try to, don't.
Just own it. It's not that big of a deal. Just own it.
Don't something about my intelligence. Don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, don't insult me.
My intelligence.
We know what you're doing. Listen, overall, we're in week 4 of this game. We've had now 3 people get evicted. This week's going to be a really fascinating week because it's not predetermined who's going to probably go home. So that's really interesting. I'm looking forward to that.
Game,
it makes it better. We're starting to get into it now.
I love it.
A lot of the people, there's a few people left, but then the game's really going to start, and we're going to see who is the best player in there. But it gives us a lot to talk about. We appreciate you guys checking us out, whether it's on audio or video. We appreciate the loyalty. We appreciate the comments so far. We look forward to talking to Brent tonight. I think that's going to be a really interesting interview. This video, you'll be seeing this after. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cody. This video, because of when we're interviewing Brent, will actually come out after Brent's interview. Brent will be in the morning, and then the show will come out, right? So Am I saying that right?
The video of Brett, the eviction interview, is going to come out in the morning. The audio is going to come out later on that day. This video is going to be up on Saturday, so it usually is our schedule, guys. We're going to keep it same. But the best way to not miss anything is exactly what Derrick said. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and you guys won't miss anything. Whether you watch it immediately or watch it later, you just guarantee yourself never missing an episode. So I will leave it with that. As always, we love you guys. We appreciate everything you guys do for us. We appreciate all the comments and all the positivity that's coming our way. So thank you guys as always.
Absolutely. He said it best, man. Thank you for joining us here on the Winner's Circle. We will see you next week.